Okay, what's up, you guys, and welcome to another episode of Top 10 Tuesdays. It's Tuesday, and I've got a top 10 list to tell you guys about, and that is my top 10 favorite TLC matches. And that's excluding ladder matches, of course. This is just, strictly TLC matches. And we'll start off with number 10. Number 10 goes to AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose from last year's TLC pay per view. Amazing, amazing match. They went balls to the wall crazy. And I would say the only reason that it's not higher up on my list is because of the ending. If it was. If it was done better a little bit, maybe because with James Ellsworth and everything, it was just way too choreographed. And not just that, but I thought that match could have been something to have elevated Dean Ambrose and AJ Styles together, rather than it being a storyline driven match, or something to prolong the feud, rather than it being okay, this is gonna be it, and it would have been a feud ender or something like that. I just think that if you've taken the ending away, it would have been much higher on the list. Number 9 goes to CM Punk versus Jeff Hardy, SummerSlam 2009. This was a great match. Start to finish, it was awesome. And what I love about this match is that they saved the big spot to the end. This is something that I think matches should have nowadays, rather than it being, do crazy stuff, and then it would just go downhill from then on. And this was an excellent match. It was, another story-driven match. They've been feuding for 2 months prior to this, and or 3 months actually prior to this. They have this great match. Sure, they have their final match on SmackDown the following Tuesday, but Friday when it's taped. And it was a great match, and more so, I love the ending, where Punk eked out a win, and not just that, but Jeff Hardy looked like a fucking monster by the end. He looked like the kind of guy that, if given another shot, it was the kind of match that could have gone either way, and that's what I love about it. So yeah, I would love to see Jeff Hardy back up there, back up into the main event. Number 8 goes to Raw from January of 2006. Edge defending his WWE Championship against Ric Flair. This was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Ric Flair was out there with his friends and family at ringside. A very young Charlotte is in front row, and so much electricity in the air, so much, you would see so much enthusiasm, and just this unexplainable type of just how do I like the specialty going on in this match. Like, the arena filled with, like, this thing that was like something special was gonna happen, and it was special. It was a great match. And again, the ending kind of I didn't like it, but I do think it kind of added a little bit more heat to the heels. And Flair, God bless him, he made Edge look like $1 million, because up to this point, Edge wasn't taken seriously. He was the kind of guy that was a great mid-carder. He was an established mid-carder, but every time he would get into the main event, he's not that good. Or not, I'm not saying like not that good as far as talent-wise, but I'm saying like it's the way he's booked. But once he was given the reins and he was told, okay, you're the champion, run with it, he passed with flying colors. And this match was, was the test of that. And it was a great match. So, there you go. Number 7 goes to the first ever TLC from SummerSlam 2000, you had I believe the Dudleys were the champions, and they defended their championships against Edge and Christian and the Hardys. And I love this story going into this because you had Edge and Christian always using the chairs to win their matches, and the Dudleys using tables, the Hardys always using ladders. So combine all three things, and you got a TLC match. So it made sense for this. But I feel like when you don't have anybody from that are from the original participants, it's so weird calling it a TLC match. It should just be called a ladder match. You go back and watch my top 10 stupidest concepts in wrestling. It's in there. So this was a great match, and it was the match that really cemented the tag team division. That was like, okay, WWE now has the best tag team division in the world, and this is proof of that. We're gonna put the three top teams in a match, and it's gonna be balls to the wall. The only thing that I didn't like about it is the fact that there was way too much going on in so little time. This went for 15 minutes. They were given 15 minutes. I think if it was a little bit longer and you spread out those moves, it would have been an amazing match. But the fact that it was so crammed in, it kind of there was moments that took me out of it. But it's not taking anything away from the match itself. It's still an amazing match. So there you go. Number 6 goes to Edge defending his WWE Championship against John Cena at Unforgiven 2006. This was a very underrated show. I would say this was probably the best show of 2006. That and One Night Stand, it's definitely neck and neck. But I would probably give a little bit of an edge to Unforgiven because there were a lot of great matches, and this was one of them. The main event, and it was in Toronto, and before the match even started, Edge was weeping. He was weeping openly. There was so much emotion going on in this, and this was an awesome match. You had there was a story going on with if Edge beats John Cena goes to SmackDown, and Teddy Long was in the stands, and he was just waiting for John Cena to lose so that he can sign him onto SmackDown. I just wish that they implemented something to that. Maybe turn Teddy Long heel and bring out like a few SmackDown guys to beat up John Cena, and have Edge win at the end. Have some SmackDown guys hold John Cena off while Edge grabs the title and Cena has to go to SmackDown. But Cena was like the top guy on Raw. He was Raw's golden goose. So you can't really send him over to SmackDown. So, but still, I still think, but at the same time, Batista was down with an injury. They could have. I think that they could have done something with Cena. Oh wait, you know what? Was Batista back at this time? No, Batista was back. Batista was back at this time. They could have done something though. I think that they could have done something. You know what? Cena versus Batista would have been a great match for somewhere down the line, whether it's WrestleMania or Royal Rumble. That would have been a big match. Imagine WrestleMania 23 having Cena versus Batista. That would have been huge. I think that they could have done something with Edge, but still doesn't take away from the fact that this was a great match. You had a lot of great moves going on and a lot of great moments, and of course, Lita going through a bunch of tables was awesome, and it was great. It was absolutely an awesome match. Number 5 goes to the Shield's debut against Team Hell No and Ryback at TLC 2012. This was probably the best debut ever. The best debut match ever. Going in, having an awesome match, and just, making 3 great stars in one night. And this was it. This was absolutely it. I will definitely say that this was a fucking 5-star match. Definitely, I would say it was probably the match of the year in that year. Trying to think if there was any other matches, but right now I'm just gonna say that it's number 5 in my TLC favorites list, and it was so well done. And Ryback, despite his losses, he still was over. I think he was still over in this, not just in this match, but I feel like after this match, people were into him because of this match. Because of everybody putting in 100% in this match, and some of them even 110. So, yeah, number 5 goes to Shield versus Hell and Ryback from TLC 2012. Number 4 goes to The Undertaker versus Edge at One Night Stand 2008. This was a match for the vacant World Heavyweight Championship. And not only that, but if Undertaker loses, he has to retire from the WWE. And this was a very emotional match. I feel like Undertaker might have retired after this, because the stuff that he was doing here and how much abuse he put his body through, it really felt like he was done. And of course he wasn't, but it felt like it. Especially with the ending of this match, it was like it kind of made things clear that Undertaker is done. And I remember at this time I was like, oh, of course Undertaker is gonna win, and he didn't. And when he didn't, I was like, what? Does this mean the Undertaker is leaving? Is he really retiring? And it was because it was a crazy, crazy match. Undertaker put himself through a lot of hell, especially the ending of this match. The ending of this match was nuts, especially for a guy at Undertaker's age and with Undertaker's body that's been through hell. And yeah, this was crazy stuff, and no wonder Edge retired so early. It's because, because of these kind of matches, and it was an amazing, amazing match. So I gotta give props to them. If I haven't already, millions of times I've watched this match, and I would definitely recommend you guys to check this out. I recommend all these matches to be checked out. You know what? You could even binge watch most of them. I'll definitely put the links to the matches in the description box. If I find the matches on like Daily Motion or whatever, I'm definitely gonna put it in the description box. So check it out. After that, we've got TLC 2, which is in my number 3 spot, which is regarded as being the best TLC match. And judging from my list, it's in my opinion, it's not. WrestleMania 17, you had the Dudleys, who were the champions, going up against the Hardys, against Edge and Christian. And if you would say that this was the best TLC match, you have an argument there. You do have an argument there, for sure. Because this was amazing. If the first TLC match was to showcase your tag team division and say like, okay, this division is the best, then this match was all about saying these guys are not only our best in the tag team division, but one day they will all be main eventers. Like, this was like a crystal ball for things to come. And seeing guys like, Rhino and Spike Dudley, guys who have nothing to do with the match, and Lita, and them being a very important part of the match, even though that they are not really part of the match, but they're not really booked as like, they are not really competing in the match. They still had their moments, and it made the match even better. So this was like, this was breaking a lot of barriers with the fact that, women can actually be in men's matches, even though it's been done before. But here, it was like, you know what? The women can do things with the men as well, and hold their own. And that was awesome, where Lita hit her jumping Hurricane Rana, and Rhino spearing the shit out of her, and Spike Dudley doing his, taking, great risks in this match. And of course, the infamous, the now famous moment that everybody goes back to watch and is in many highlight reels. Edge spearing Jeff Hardy from the top of the ladder, while Jeff Hardy's grabbing onto the championship, and that was a great moment. It was an amazing moment. Definitely was the second best moment of, well, not second best. It was the best moment of the night, but it was the second most important moment of the night. Well, maybe number 3. I'll probably say that number 3. But still, it was it was a great match and a great show. So I'll definitely say that it was a definite 5-star match. So there you go. Number 2 goes to TLC 3 from SmackDown 2001. This was, I believe, in May of 2001. This was before. I think this was after. Oh yeah, definitely it was after Judgment Day, but before King of the Ring. And the whole story of this was that Vince McMahon is fed up with Jericho and Benoit and them pretty much making fun of him and his daughter, and making fun of Stone Cold and being like a really big thorn in Austin's side, because they were feuding with Austin, and this was leading to King of the Ring, where they would have a triple threat match for the WWF title. So Vince put them in a TLC match. And it's weird that looking back at this, and I remember the build up to Edge versus John Cena at Unforgiven 06, where Edge, he was about to pick the stipulation to face Cena, and he was like, this is going to be a match that you never been in, and it's a match that I never lost. Well, if you would go back to this, the TLC 3 match from SmackDown 01, May 01, you would know that he didn't really win that match. And it was a great match. It was an amazing match, okay? This was definitely a 5-star match. I would I would recommend this to anybody, not just a wrestling fan. If you have friends that are not wrestling fans, but they wouldn't mind checking a match or two out, this would be the match to show them. Of every other match in this list, I think this match can be shown to anybody, and I think anybody would really enjoy it, because there was so much story in this match. Not just that, but the fans were going nuts. 2 minutes into this match, everybody was standing up. And until the end of the match, this went on for like 20 minutes. They had a 20-minute long match, 20-minute TV long match, and everybody never missed a beat. Like, this was balls to the wall crazy, and everybody was going nuts. And everybody loved it. Everybody loved it. And there was nuts. The thing was, even the winners of the match made so much sense. The fans were cheering, because usually in matches like these, WWE tends to have their head up their own asses, and they'd be like, we're going to have this guy go over. And as the guy is going up to get the championship or briefcase or whatever, the fans are booing. But here, the most over guys won, and it was a great match, and it made a lot of great stars. It made, everybody in this match seem like a bigger deal. So, and it was like 3 months after WrestleMania, after the TLC 2, and this was even better. So, yeah, props to them if I haven't given them already. Number 1. Well, before I get to number 1, let's have a few honorable mentions. TLC 2015, you had Roman Reigns versus Sheamus. Thought that was a good match. It was very brutal. Them beating the shit out of each other. But the problem was nobody really cared, and it was a little bit overbooked at the end. That's the main reason why it's not on the list. I would talk about from this past Sunday, the main event. It was overbooked, but it might have been the worst TLC match, but at the same time, it's not saying that it was horrible. It was still a good match on its own. So it's the worst match by default. CM Punk versus Ryback from January 2013. This was a great match, an amazing match. They did everything in their power to make it as great as possible because Punk just came back from surgery, but he was like, no, fuck this. I'm not taking it easy. I'm gonna do whatever it takes. Like as soon as he got in the ring, he was stomping on the canvas. Like I'm 100%. Even though that I think he was about like 80%. Like he was a week after surgery. I mean, you don't heal up that fast. I don't care who you are. And Ryback was at the peak of his, of his career. He was like one of the most over guys at that time, and Punk was at the peak of his heelness at that time. So this was like two colossal beings going at it, and I think that would have been a great match for Royal Rumble instead of like Rock versus Punk. So. Even though that was a good match, but it's still like I think this TLC match should have been like at a pay-per-view. Another match would have been, I think that deserves an honorable mention is The Miz versus Jerry Lawler from December of 2010. I think that was a great match. I just think that it was a little bit on the short side, but at the same time, I thought it was really good. I thought that Michael Cole was a good commentator in this match, and he did play an important part in the match. Don't necessarily agree with it, but at the same time, it planted seeds for things to come, and the fans were really into it. The fans were into Lawler, and they thought at one moment that, holy shit, he's going to win the WWE title. And Punk was in commentary, and he did a really good job as well. It was an off night for him. But at the same time, even at his worst, he's still entertaining. So, that was good. I remember, like, Cole would always, it's like Punk was at one point, he was like, Jerry Lawler is your, broadcast partner. If I wasn't there, would you be rooting against me? And Cole was like, yes. So funny. So I think that deserves also an honorable mention. I think that's pretty much it with the honorable mentions. Now we go to my number one pick for the best TLC match ever. Goes to TLC 4 from Raw Roulette. I would say this was in September. I want to say September of 2002. Episode of Raw. You had it was supposed to be Kane and the Hurricane, but the Hurricane got injured. He got beat up by Triple H and Ric Flair backstage, so to stack the deck against Kane, going up against Jeff Hardy, and his partner, the partner that he chose was Rob Van Dam, and Spike Dudley, and Bubba Ray Dudley, who was Spike Dudley was Bubba Ray's choice, and Bubba actually wanted Tommy Dreamer first, but then I liked the moment that they had where Spike was like, hey, I always wanted to be a tag team champion with you because I thought now that Devon is on SmackDown and I've always looked up to you guys, I thought this would be my shot. And Bubba was like, all right, Tommy Dreamer, maybe next time, let's go, kid. And he grabbed Spike. I love that moment. And then you have Christian picking Chris Jericho, where Jericho's like, hey, let's be partners. Kane took my Intercontinental title, and I want to take a championship of his. It made so much sense. And the moment with RVD and Jeff Hardy, it's like when Jeff Hardy went to the locker room and you saw RVD, the fans went nuts. It was awesome. It was so awesome, and the match itself was amazing. Was so awesome, because so many things. First off, you got the stories, the little stories intermingling. You had a great show. The Raw show. This might be my favorite Raw episode ever. Okay, from start to finish, you had entertainment. You had good matches. You had car wrecks. You had crazy stuff going on. You had cool stuff going on. And now you have a great 5-star fucking match. I would give it 6 stars, 7 stars, 10 stars. Everybody was working their asses off. Everybody. Like every single person. The referees, the commentator for Jerry Lawler won a match prior to this, so he had to so he won pretty much the whole train, and so he took a night off, and so this entire match was just Jim Ross doing calling this on his own, and this was awesome. Probably the only I think this was the only time that somebody called an entire match on his own. I might be wrong. I'm trying to think back. When 2015, right after WrestleMania 31, where Byron Saxon was calling a few things on his own. I think so, but then Jerry Lawler came in. But this was this was like 25 minutes of Jim Ross just calling the entire match on his own. And good God, there's nobody better than Jim Ross. If you want a good showcase of what Jim Ross is, and if you're one of those guys that think that, oh, Jim Ross is overrated, he's not not that good, Mauro Ranallo is better, or Corey Graves is better, or whatever is better, listen to the call in this match, okay? Listen to Jim Ross, because the amount of passion he would give out during this match, the amount of just gravitas in his voice during this match, the amount of just credibility he's building around this match, of how much everybody when he says the will to win this match, the will to become tag team champions. I felt it. I felt everything going on. And to add to this, the crazy stuff that these guys are doing made this match of the year for me. This was for sure my match of the year for 2002. Better than Elimination Chamber, the first ever Elimination Chamber. Better than Michaels Triple H. Better than any other match of this year. There's not a single match of this year that comes even close. This was so awesome from start to finish, and there wasn't a single dull moment. And if there was a moment where everybody was down, the fans were going nuts. That's how great it was. Fans were chanting "Holy shit!" we're going nuts. It was just balls to the wall crazy, and it was so fucking awesome to watch. This is another match that I would recommend for anybody to check out. But I think TLC 3 is more in line with that. But I feel like this is the match that is more geared towards people who are into wrestling, who are into great storytelling, because despite there was a lot of car crash moments, there was a big story going on, and I loved it. I loved it. So, yep, that's pretty much it. So, with that being said, rate, comment, favorite, how please subscribe, and check out my next video. I'll be talking about something else.